So I'm back. I've been sick. I apologize. It's taken me a while to. Here, let me turn on my light. Oh, there. So yeah, I apologize. It's taken me a while to come back. I had pneumonia really bad. I'm not gonna make a big like pity thing about it, but it sucked. And it was probably like the worst illness I've ever had in my entire life, to be honest with you. I had COVID like last year, and this wasn't COVID related. It was a bacterial sinus infection that spread into my lungs. And so I think it was last year or the year before I had COVID. That was at that time the worst I had ever, like the worst illness I had ever had. And this just, COVID paled in comparison to this. I was in so much pain. I'm still not done being sick. I'm still sick, but I feel a lot better. But I was in so much pain and I was so weak. And I was so weak and tired and ill and just awful feeling like I had a headache and whatever. And, you know, with me, I've been experiencing a lot of death in my life. Like a lot of people that have been close to me have died recently. And, you know, a lot of it has been illness related, accident related, all this different kind of stuff. And so whenever, particularly in this instance, I had to go through a lot of mental things really, really quickly, because before I went to the doctor and I figured out exactly what was wrong with me, and I just started feeling so awful, my brain can't help but go to places like, what if I'm, and it might sound stupid, but my brain wants to say, you know, like, what if I'm dying of cancer right now? Like, what if I got lung or like spine cancer or something and I'm about to die? And so my brain goes down these rabbit holes and I get, you know, kind of depressed and while I'm sick, and I go through all of these different, you know, just kind of involuntary self-reflection moments that I'm having while I'm sitting here in pain, like wanting to throw up, not being able to breathe. My lung pain is like radiating into my back, and nobody tells you that pneumonia is that bad. Like, I don't know how people do it. I literally could not walk. I was so sick. Like, I went to a Halloween thing with my family, and I tried to walk, and after 10 minutes of shuffling around in the parking lot, I had to go and sleep in the car because I was just too ill. And so the point of what I'm saying is I want to share something that I have kind of gained as insight from this experience. And I think that I partially, you know, a part of me knew this before. This universe and this life, this experience is perfect. It's perfect exactly the way that it is. And the reason that it's perfect exactly the way that it is because it is how it is, because it cannot be any other way. And what I mean by that is you're sitting in a room, and in the room that you're sitting in, some of the stuff is up and some of the stuff is down. And you know that the stuff that is up because the other stuff is down. And you know that the stuff that's down is down because of the other stuff that's up. And so if you tried to make everything in a room up, there would be no down to tell the up from. And so then the up would be nothing. It wouldn't make any sense. And if you tried to make everything down, then there would be, you know, vice versa. I'm not going to go all the way through it. But that's the, now informationally, this makes a lot of sense to a lot of people because we have the concept of yin and yang. And I would argue that a large step in a person finding a deeper sense of inner peace about their existence, which is really what we're all looking for at the end of the day. We're looking for inner peace. And a large step in finding that for any person that's on a path like this is to dive deeper into the reality behind yin and yang, the reality behind the fact that nothing can exist without its counterpart being there for you to tell it apart from that. If I have something good that happens in my life, I only know that the thing that happened to me is good because something bad happened to me, and also vice versa. So the pursuit of living a perfectly happy life and living in constant joy and happiness and excitement is foolish. because it's impossible. You're talking about doing something that literally is not possible. And even people who live a life that is particularly peaceful or particularly good, I should say, or maybe let's think about enlightened people like Ram Dass, like people who are generally considered to be enlightened. Usually when those people find that peace that stays with them, it either doesn't really stay with them forever, because those people always there's always something that comes up, right? Another example of a person who we generally consider to be enlightened is Alan Watts. And of course he spent a large portion of his life probably in a deep state of inner peace. But obviously there was some sort of turmoil there too, because he had some relationship problems, not that it's any of our business. Relationship problems, alcohol problems, things like that. So obviously there was some level of unrest in him, even though we would like to see and like to say that that person was highly enlightened, and they were. That doesn't mean that they're just chilling out in a state of peace all the time, right? And even monks go to Buddhist temples and they live the way that they do. And yet a lot of them, if you talk to anybody that's in Buddhist communities or forums online, anything like that, you hear all the time that a lot of monks actually break the rules of monasteries. I hear all the time about people drinking and smoking weed outside of monasteries, and there's all this nuance to it. It's not like when you see a Buddhist monk, I think that for some reason we have a particular bias that we think that these people in particular are perfect, they can't do any wrong, a monk could never do that. And for the most part, that's probably true, at least in practice, but there's nuance there, and they're not all like that. And in some countries, Buddhist monks are, in some countries they're sentenced to go to Buddhist monasteries and become monks in lieu of jail. That happens sometimes too. So all of this is to say that you cannot have one without the other. You cannot have happiness and peace without suffering and torment and anxiety. You can't have those. They cannot exist without the other, right? And I guess in a certain way, to become enlightened means to live in a state where you kind of understand that at a deeper level than just intellectual information-wise. You're understanding that at such a level that even when things are going one way or the other for you, you are kind of staying free. You are, instead of getting wrapped up and thinking, oh my God, this thing, I can't believe this shit just happened to me. And then something good happens and you're like, yes, everything is great now. And it you're getting tossed back and forth between the positive and the negative. And to be free of that just kind of means that you are freely flowing. You're not identifying with every instance in your life where things are going good or going badly. And you're not trying to reconcile this experience as a good or a bad experience as life overall. You're not trying to do that anymore because you don't need to, because you understand that it's hard to put into words. You understand that the way that it is perfect, which is scary because it's there's something interesting about this. It's really easy to say that when you're not in the middle of horrible suffering. I will say it's difficult to see, if I broke my leg right now, I might not immediately turn to say, oh, this is perfect. But does that make it untrue? Not really. And there have been instances, I've heard stories, there have been instances of people who come to that realize, but like myself, that's where how I started the story. Was I was terribly sick and thinking about my own death, faith, it's stupid. It sounds stupid looking back on it in hindsight because I'm fine. But in the time I was I really genuinely was contemplating the end of my own life, because I was I don't know what is wrong with me and I feel awful. I've never felt this bad before. And in that moment, although it hurt and it was kind of awful to think about, at the same time, I never lost that truth, because to me, that's the truth. I see that as the truth. Regardless, no matter what happens, everything is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. Because there is no other way that it could be. It's impossible for it to be, like in this moment right now, exactly in this moment, it is impossible for this universe to be in any other state than what it's in right now. You see what I mean? And yes, it's constantly changing, ever flowing, never ceasing to change, never ceasing to, to try to know something in this world and to try to know something in this life is like trying to hold water in your hands. And it just, you get a little bit and it stays there for a minute, but eventually it goes away, it gets out of your hands, goes back into the river. But this life is not a problem to be solved. There's not a problem to be solved. You can use your life to solve problems if you please, but this life itself is not a problem that needs to be solved. This life itself is not a positive or a negative experience. It has within it positive and negative experiences, and also whether those experiences are truly positive or negative largely depends on the way that you choose to perceive it, which is hard. It's difficult because we as people are trained from a very young age. From the minute that we come out of the womb, we are trained to do that. We're trained to make things by our parents. Watching our parents, we look up in our little 1-year-old eyes and we see mom, and she drops a plate on the floor and it breaks, and she freaks out, has a meltdown because she also is only running on 2 hours of sleep because you kept her up all night, and she has to drop you off with the babysitter and go to work. And so she drops the plate on the ground and she has a meltdown. And now, without your mother even trying, you have implanted in your brain that breaking a plate is bad. It's a bad thing and you need to freak out about it. And it's that kind of thing that makes us believe that things are going our way or not going our way. And the truth is, it doesn't actually even mean anything. You're a molecule floating in an ocean, in an incomprehensibly complex, changing, flowing ocean that has no true form. None of this is real. I mean, you see stuff and it appears to be a solid object to you, but the truth is that it's made up of millions, billions of tiny little smaller objects that are all moving and interchanging with each other. And so even, this form is extremely temporary. It's just a sort of more rigid version of cupping water into your hands, or putting it into a bucket. And you know how when you put water in a bucket and it takes the shape of the bucket? Well, like a guitar is the same thing, but just molecules. And when you take away the bucket, it stays in the shape for a while, but it's fraying, it's going away. It's eventually going to dissipate back into the ocean. And so the different things that you see are just kind of different forms of water, different waves that take, depending on whatever, things that we don't understand, obviously, depending on whatever, it forms this shape in the wave, and then it just takes a longer or shorter amount of time before it dissipates back into the ocean, and it does different stuff. And that's what you are. And it just so happens that this wave that you are, one of the things that this wave that you are does is it has the experience of being a self. It has the experience of being an individual. But it's not. It's not real. Yourself is not a real thing, because you are actually just the ocean. But you are the ocean pretending, in a way, to be this singular wave and having the experience of being that wave. That's what you are. So you're the ocean experience. Like if you think of, when I say the ocean, I'm talking about obviously all of existence. I'm talking about all of creation, the universe. You are the ocean experiencing itself as one of its waves. And once that wave is gone, it's gone, right? It goes back into the ocean, transposes. It's not really gone because it turns into something else. It's just not that wave anymore. And when Buddhists say that the universe is empty, that's what they mean, is that it's empty. It's transient. It's not real. There's no such thing as something that's substantial, of true substance, because it's all just temporary form in an ever-changing soup of molecules, and an ever-changing soup of existence, little tiny bit of. They say tatata. Is it tatata? Tatata? I don't remember exactly how to say it, but it's basically da. So that's what they mean when they say, when Buddhists tell you that the world is empty, that's what they mean. It's empty. There's nothing really there. It's all just bullshit. But not at the same time. It's beautiful and scary, painful, exciting, you know. In the description below, there is a link to the Discord that this community created. There's also a link to my second channel where I haven't posted shit. I have 3 videos up and they're like whatever. I haven't posted in a while. So I'm going to keep going. Thank you guys for sharing this space with me. Much love. And I'm back. I'm excited. I'll see you in the next video.